Rose back here again with you. Last time we went through, we talked about the approach, the entry, and the warm-up, right? This time, we're going to break down, we're talking about something called the color code, right? Now, color code helps you identify certain types of customers and then help you identify them, and then the way they like to have information shared with them. Sometimes I'm sure you ran into customers that, hey, I don't have any time for this. How long is this going to take? I didn't set enough time aside. We need to hurry this up, right? And there's some customers that will set you down. They'll set you there forever and keep blah, 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 blah. And you're like, God, I can't get a word in edgewise, or may really like them. And suddenly it's been an hour and you haven't done anything yet, right? Maybe it's basically those people that you walk in, the engineers, the teachers, things like that, where you sit in there and they want to know everything about everything, which I'm sure the people you love, the other people that sit there and they kind of fold their arms around, right? So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to identify those personalities. I hate to put label. We put a label or attach basically the color code on there that we can basically identify these customers, so we know how to maneuver and start to educate and basically present to them the way they want to be presented. As we talked about the last time, we got to set the stage that we want to present on, and once we take that opportunity to set that stage we're presenting on, it's our fault whether or not we sell it, right? So just help you identify how to set your stage, and then again, be successful with whatever basically color we're coming across, at least to the best of your ability, right? So yes, we're not going to sell everybody, right? There's no such thing as 100% close. We like to get that. And hopefully when you get unconscious confident, which means you basically are just operating at a level like a cleaner, such as Michael Jordan, Kobe when he was alive, Tiger Woods, some of the people that we really look up to as on the sports side of the world, right? Tom Brady's. We got to make sure again that we are putting ourselves in that situation where we feel confident that we know we're walking into it. You got this, right? And everybody needs your products and services. Let's think about that. Everybody needs your products and services, but it's just sometimes we don't communicate with them the way they're wanting to be communicated. That's what this is designed to do, is help break this down to a more granular level and help you identify your customers to help give a masterful presentation, right? The best close is a masterful presentation, so we need to help our customers the way that they're wanting us to help, speak in their language, not yours, right? So we walk into it, there's 5 love languages. Well, we got red, we got blue, we got yellow, we got white, so we got 4 colors to speak to those people. So let's work on that right now, right? So first off, let's talk about it. As we get there, we knock on the door, they open the door up, right? We got basically a John, a Mary, a John, a Mary, and a Mary, right? Might be, all kinds of different objects we're walking into as far as objections, things like that up front. They might have gotten beat up by another customer. We don't know that, right? And we're going to talk about that as we get a little deeper into this, right? This is not about upfront objections. This is about identifying those people. We'll talk about how to navigate, because your biggest deal again is we want to basically get an opportunity to get into a presentation so we can be heard, right? I'm sure you say, if I could just get down and give a full presentation right now, man, I'd be killing it, right? I'd be doing those things. So let's talk about that. Let's jump right into it, right? So again, we talk about red. Let's talk about the red, right? Red is your dominant, in-your-face type personality, right? We've known them as the high Ds, right? Dominant, in-your-face personality. What they do is you got to figure out what they value, right? They value time. They don't want their time wasted. They don't want to be forced to sit down and create small talk or conversation. These people are about getting to action, right? If you're not valuing their time, they're going to exit you out of there if you don't have any value to bring in a very short period of time, right? So there's a way we're going to handle this one, but the red is that kind of, again, in your face, dominant personality. Hey, I have no time for this right now. So what are you doing that's going to take us? What are you doing that's going to help me? But that, or hey, I got a conference call in a minute. I need you to basically take some measurements, leave the estimate on the table, and I'll be done, right? And then I'll call you back if I want to do business with you. That's that personality, right? The blue is your analytical overthinker, right? In our industry, that's the people that overthink things. They talk themselves in and out. It's the number one rescission customer that we deal with in our industry, right? Rescission meaning that they cancel a project after they move forward in a few days because they've talked themselves in and out of it. Generally, these people are all about gathering as much information as they can. They could be the people filling out the spreadsheets, writing notes, different things of that nature. They might just really love to listen and learn everything about everything, right? So again, you'll find these people are pretty fun to listen to and basically help them out. And then when we deal with a blue, what they want is they want connection first, right? The red wants you to show value in a fast time frame because they want you to protect their largest investment, which is time, right? The blue wants to get to know you, so they're interviewing you as you're warming up with them and making sure that we walk into it. They'll be walking in, they're the ones that are going to give you a Coke, they're going to give you basically a Sprite, they might have cookies on the table. There's different things on that nature, very hospitality, and they really appreciate your time. But again, just because they appreciate your time, they value, they probably gel with everybody. So don't think just because you had a good warm up, this is going to be what you need to sell these people. But again, that's your stereotypical, what I call the best customer to walk through your presentation, right? So again, they're going to basically, we're going to talk about how to help each one of these, right? The blue or the red, the blue, the yellow, and the white, right? But I'm just explaining what they are. So that blue is that analytical overthinker, generally a teacher, professor, engineer, basically architect, different things like that, that they analyze the whole situation before making a decision, right? The yellow is your 80-day flyer, right? This might be described as a couple different things. I call this one the time vampire, right? The time vampire. So you think about that, right? Well, one of the biggest things that we don't want to do is we don't want to be sitting there sucked into 45 minutes to an hour later, and we haven't done anything but listen to their 10 stories about when they went to the Grand Canyon. They showed the pictures of them and their late husband, or basically might be that guy's catching laughing and having a good time the entire time. You're talking about everything that's going on in basically media or basically life or news, and just laughing, having a good, great time, feel like you've known these people forever, but you're not getting anywhere, right? So be careful. That's what we call the time vampire. And remember, the scariest one's that little old lady that you don't want to be mean to, and you don't want to interrupt her because she wants to keep telling you 8,000 stories. But again, what happens at the end of that, you're there for 4 hours, and you might walk out of that thing without a deal. Now, that hurts because if you base on your time, if every house you walk on the door, if you're making $400 per door you knock on or $1,000 a door you knock on, you got to make sure, again, that you understand the value of time. And not to be rude, but we're going to talk about how to get through that, right? And then the white, which is your autonomous self-thinker. A lot of times these people are hoarders, or basically they let their house go, or they got personalities like a shoe sometimes, man. Doesn't mean they're bad people, but they're about peace and autonomy. They might be reds, they might be yellows at work, right? They might be the most conversational people and love everything, but the second you walk in their house, they don't like it, right? A lot of times they'll let their house go longer than they need to because they don't want to let you basically in there. They don't want to let the contractors in there. So it's easier to deal with it, and then they'll get to it at some point, right? And sometimes they let things go on quite a bit longer than needed. Remember, they're about peace and autonomy. And when you're dealing with them, the biggest thing is you got to build that trust because they don't trust anybody and they don't like anybody that walks in their house, right? So again, we got to really be able to identify these type of colors, right? So let's break down, let's talk about the red real quick, right? So you're red, you're dominant, you're in your face. I don't have time for this. I need you to measure and give me an estimate. So we have to come in here and we have to do something that's really going to take it off Kelly, right? In training, what we'll do is I'll stand people up and I take the biggest guy in class and I tell him to stick his arm out, right? Or her, could be her too, because she might be stronger than the guy, right? But take your arm out. And what I say is, hey, I'm going to ask you a question, and no matter what you do, I'm going to take these two fingers. Don't let me take your arm down, right? So no matter what, don't let me take your arm down. So the beautiful thing I'll do during that thing is I'll ask them a question they should know the answer of. I watch their eyes. When their eyes flip to the left, back to the right, I basically take their arm down 99.9 out of 10 times, right? Out of 100 times, excuse me. And what that does is, because your brain can't think of the information or process information, it needs to answer the question and fight at the same time, right? So, there's that fight or flight. This is a little different. We're going to ask questions to take down their guard because you can't be mad and answer a question at the same time. The more I can get them talking about the project at hand or getting to business is a big deal. So what we would do, walking in the door, hey, Dustin, hey, I don't have time for this today. I know that I said I'd give you guys an hour and a half. I just don't have time. I got a conference call. I need you to measure that in there and then give me a price, right? And just go ahead and leave that on the table you're done. And so I said, hey, thank you so much for sharing that. Sounds like to me getting the price is important to you, right? So great. So it sounds like to me there's a reason that puts you in position you need to replace these windows, doors, or bathroom real quick. So that way I don't even know if I can help. Let's go ahead and take a look at what you want to accomplish and see if we can even help. Cool. I need you to take me to the window real quick, right? So what I did is I stopped the pattern and I got to business, right? On the way to business, Small talk, you can try to make all the small talk and cute talk you want to. Joe, they're going to shut you off a little bit. Like, until you get to action, they don't want you to warm up. You'll hear them say these type of things. You try to sit down and warm up with the red. Well, what's that got to do with anything? How does that have anything to do with Windows? You don't need to know about me, right? That's because, again, you're not valuing their time they feel. You need to get to action, and you need to go to the point that they're looking. I'm not telling you we're walking through a full presentation yet, but we're analyzing the situation to see if we can help, right? We might get into a little part of it. We might hear what they want to have done, and we're analyzing what needs to be done. We're not selling yet. We're looking at what's done and analyzing what needs to be done. And then we start asking questions based on, right? How long has that been a problem? What have you done to try to fix it? How much time, money have you spent? Boy, sounds like the man here because you're giving up trying to fix it. How long has that been a problem, right? So then walk into it. So why is that an issue? Cool. I don't know. They just need to be replaced. Okay, real quick, let's take a look at it and see if we can even help, right? Then you need to get them in an inside inspection. And before I get into it, remember I talked about that COVID savings program in the last one? You need to give the agenda and the COVID savings program while you're in that inspection. Don't let it go past it and then give it, because that's going to screw this whole thing up. Then you're going to exit yourself to give a quick pitch and then give a price, and you're out. So we need to take control in the inspection, because again, we're giving control by letting them take us to the first window by seeing if we can even help. And then secondly, the more questions I'm able to ask here, the more I take their defenses down, right? Hard to be mad at somebody that listens and asks good questions, and then the more they speak, the more comfortable they get, right? Our goal is to break that hard candy shell and then get them back down to zero. Because what you'll find is after you find a reason during your inspection that makes you unique, and this is a bigger challenge than they expected, then you earn the opportunity to basically share with them about your company and why we're relevant to that situation, the basically product and why we're relevant to the situation, and then finally sit down and listen about the money. But if you didn't earn that right because you didn't handle that customer up front right, you're not going to get that opportunity, right? So now let's talk about the blue, right? So again, the red, we're going to ask questions. We're going to basically remove the objection by taking away. We're not even sure we can help. First off, let's make sure we can help. I want you to show me what you called me out for and why that's a challenge, okay? And then when you go in there, that's when you're hearing them out, figuring out what they know. Because you interrupt them and tell them stuff, they might not agree, and now you're fighting a battle too. So let them tell us what's going on and why it hurts, and then we're going to take a closer look. That's our mission to inspect and roll onto that, right? So we want to make sure, again, we handle that customer right up front, because if not, it's like a firebomb, right? Second is our blue. This is our analytical overthinker again, right? Remember we talked about that? So they work on this thing. If you take this model and you present to this model, it will make your life so much easier on the blue because it's strategic and deliberate, right? So the presentation or basically the engage or keynote, whatever you want to call the presentation we give, is based on this steady model, right? But you got to think of this in your brain too, right? So steady model rolls on this. It's basically it's an acronym that helps us make sure we're giving the right information to that customer, right? Steady stands for this. S is statistic, right? So we got S is statistic. Right? So we want to give statistical information. People love statistics, right? You know, basically 3 out of 4 doctors recommend, right? Basically 9 out of 10 consumers doing this they experience this type of concern. Based on 2,000 people, when the clinical trials, this is what happened, right? You know, if I basically look into that aspect, people grab a hold of statistics, right? Why do you think Google puts 5 stars, right? Well, if I trust this company, it's 4.7 out of 5 stars. So it sounds like with that many reviews, they got to be a good company, right? Not that many people can lie about that. So when you think of those things, we got to take those statistics in line and make sure that we are basically utilizing those to our best extent. Did you realize 96% of contractors fail within their first 2 years? Do you realize that 80% of people taking the cheapest bid had big problems getting completed, right? And that, so we got to make sure we're using that statistical information, right? Then basically steady, ST, T is testimonial. What are customers like themselves doing to bring to basically that you can use the information they've shared about their experiences, you can use that to help them. Or you can use testimonials from expert opinion or from experts that have come into it too, which will roll right into the E. But testimonials, which are what customers like them are saying, put them at brain and ease, right? People want to be of like kind. Right? If not, why would somebody buy one of those NFT things, those monkey things? And now suddenly a famous person buys it they look up to. Now suddenly everybody starts buying these NFT things for all kinds of crazy money, right? So think about that thing, about that testimonial, who's doing it, why they're doing it, and then why is that important to your customer? So sharing experiences of people just like themselves, that are going through that same scenario, that you can share what the outcome was of that and how it's a positive thing. That's going to help you, again, work with the blue. Kind of works a little with everybody, but the blue predominantly is what that's designed for, right? And now the E is expert opinion, right? People love basically those statistical information, right? They love testimonials, but they really love expert opinion, right? I give the analogy all the time. If I walk in and my favorite toothpaste is missing, right? And I'm like, oh, and I got to brush my teeth. And I'm like, man, so one of the biggest things, if I travel out of town, walk into a Rite Aid, a Walgreens, and all my name brand toothpaste is gone, I pick up 2 different boxes. One's white, one's red. I pick up on the back, and I read the back, and one of them says, it doesn't give anything. It says like 1 out of 4 doctors or 1 out of 4 dentists recommend it, right? And this one's about $2. And one says basically 4 out of 4 dentists recommend it. And now this one is basically $4. So I got $2, $4. Which one am I going to buy? Well, the one generally it says 4 out of 4 dentists recommend it, because I know that's safe to put in my mouth and make sure that I'm brushing my teeth, right? So again, the whole thing of that expert opinion caused me to influence my decision towards the right way and spend more money, right? So expert opinion are one of those things we want to, right? Small Business Administration and Better Business Bureau say 96% of contractors fail in their first 2 years of doing business, right? Basically, Department of Energy says if you take a 16-inch, basically a small of a 16th inch around a 12 square inch opening, that's the same as a brick missing out of your house, right? So when you think about the area and the things that we talk about, statistical information, whether what I just said is right or wrong, that's not the point. The point is where you grab the information from and what you utilize, right? Small Business Administration, the National Roofing Association, basically NFRC, AMA, American Architecture Manufacturing Association state this. Department of Energy says we need to pay attention to this, right? The California government says that, whatever it might be. You don't know, but you got to use that basic expert opinion to help bring it in, right? HGTV says when we look at something, this is what the experts say on this, right? NARI says this. So just think of those statistical pieces of information you grabbed that you probably use that third-party stuff, but you really didn't know why you used it, right? So that steady model is part of why we share that information. So again, that's a big thing, right? A is analogy, right? Analogy stands for something I'm giving an example of, right? So if I'm trying to talk about conductivity, whether it be glass, whatever it might be, conductivity is something like this, right? So guys, you like cheese dip? Oh my God, let me tell you about cheese dip, man. Glass is one of the best conductors known to man. I don't know if you knew that or not, but glass is made of water, right? Silicon sand, water, type of things that roll into there. So glass, one of my favorite things to do on Sundays is when I watch football, is me and my boy, we get there and we get this cheese dip, right? We take, you're about that chili con queso, right? And you bought basically the bean dip. I take that and I mix them in a mixing bowl inside that thing, mix them up a little bit. And what I do is I take it, once I got that cheese dip and that bean dip all mixed together, I put them in the microwave. I put that thing in there for 2 minutes. And what happens is that thing comes out, it's like piping. You can hear it bubbling, man. It comes out, it's so hot. I try to grab the bowl, it's too hot. So I got to grab basically a towel, pick that thing up, and it's burning my fingers even through the towel. As I set it down, it's like piping. And the steam's coming up off of it. It's all burnt around the edges. And then first thing I do is I look at my boy, I'm like, oh, it's going to be so freaking good, right? And I grab that chip and I bite that chip, and it's cold in the middle. I'm like, what the heck? Right? My boy reminded me the other day that glass, it's a conductor, right? All the heat's conducting to the glass on the outside, not to the liquid on the inside. I was like, oh man, that makes a lot of sense, right? You think about it, glass is a great conductor. So using analogies like that, right? Just like prescription for diagnosis malpractice, which is why the red, I can't get into showing you what the problem or give you a price if I haven't basically taken a look at the project, right? If I basically gave you a diagnosis before, or I give you a prescription before the diagnosis, then I'm guessing what you want. I can't do that. I got to hear what you want, what you need. And if we can help, then we can get to that solution. So again, using analogies helps them, again, relate things to things that they could do. So think about analogies that might work for you, right? Might be service tension, a glass of iced tea going into the water, right? If I pour in a glass iced tea and pour it in a glass, if I don't have it the right angle, it might run back down the side of the glass and trip on the table. That's called service tension. I might use that in the bath side that talk about fiberglass or cultured marble or some of those things that have a lot of service tension, how things hit grab and it creates a problem as far as bacteria, mold, mildew, that type of stuff, right? So I got to make sure that I understand why I'm using that information, just not how, right? And then the Y, or excuse me, the D is design. I'm designing based off the challenges I've just done. And then basically Y is you, what you put in the presentation that you're you factor, right? So that's that steady model, right? Statistic, testimonial, expert opinion, analogy, design, and what you put into it, right? Because if I'm boring with all the information, I got the best information in the world, if I'm boring and monotone, they don't want to listen to me anyways, right? Just like this, if I didn't have inflection in my voice, they'd be crazy, right? There's a song by the Blues Travelers, right, called The Hook. If you listen to that, he says, a quarter of the way through the song, says, I said nothing so far, and I can keep it up as long as it takes, as long as I sing with inflection. That's a Peter Pan song, basically way back in the day called The Hook by the Blues Travelers. You haven't figured out, listen to the first part of that song, freaking amazing. If you hear how long that goes on, it was like a big hit. So think about that inflection side of it, right? So again, steady. That's how we handle the blue. By the end of that, you've given them all that statistical information, statistic, testimonial, expert opinion, analogies. You've designed the solution using your inflection and your sales skills that's helping them basically make an educated decision. Next is the yellow. Ooh, it's my favorite, right? Yellows are the sweetest people on the earth. They are contacting, right? It's like as a child contacts, they contact, right? And they are what they call time vampires. Sometimes these individuals can be caught calling you out because they really don't have that big a problem, but they're lonely. Or they might feel they need something, they just want to try to get an idea, right? So these people are ADD, right? ADD means attention deficit disorder, right? So if they might be concentrated on something, and that might be starting to look off in the other way, right? So you got to really take the tone out. So what you'll find with these people, as I start going through my presentation or I start saying something, they're going to want to change the subject. They're going to go back to something that is fun and exciting to them, such as their trip to Tahoe, such as their trip to Pennsylvania, their trip to Canada, their trip to France, what they did with these individuals, right? And they want to share everything with you because that's how they love people, man. But they really want to be heard because they haven't talked to anybody, or it might be just they really like to talk, or they really have a hard time keeping the attention for a while. So as we walk into it, they don't want to be rude, right? They're making you laugh. They're giving you cookies, them giving you sodas is their love language. If somebody offers you a water or a soda or something like that, even if you don't drink it, take it. Because if you don't, what happens is it creates a disconnect part of that connection. So again, grab that. Even if you set it on the table and you take 2 sips of it the entire time you're there, it doesn't matter. It just walks into it. Another trick you can do when they hand you that ice water or those basic soda, they put it in a glass, ask for how many cubes, ask if you can have how many cubes, right? 2 cubes, 3 cubes right there. It lets you know how you're going to be able to present to them. If you're going to be able to tell them what to do, or they're going to ask you, you're going to be asking them what to do and trying to basically use our normal technology or techniques. So again, remember, sometimes that's a power trip people use by doing that. Back in the day, one of the things I watched somebody say, can I get a ice water with 3 cubes? I didn't understand why he even asked it. Then I watched the 3 cube thing happen. He brought back exactly 3 cubes and let him know that they were very easily to be influenced, right? It was a trigger. Now, that's not true in everything, but it's an idea where if you want to test and gauge something, psychology tells us as many tests and gauges we can do on people, we want to make sure we grab that, right? All right, next thing, that yellow, as we're going through, and they start breaking concentration. All right, let me tell you about Dreamstar Mom, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I love that. Let me tell you about this story that happened with my kids on this day at this time. Oh my God, it was so good, right? You're like, I can't get anything done because he's interrupting me every time I keep going. So you have to do this, right? So here's what it's called: pattern up, pattern repeat. Pattern up, pattern repeat. So great, guys. Hey, here, let me tell you about Dreamstar Molly, right? We found it basically here. Here's why this is important to you based on your project. Here's this. Okay. Yeah, Dustin, that's great. Let me tell you about this one story. I know you. I want to hear everything you have to say about it. I want to basically let me tell you about this story. Oh my God, it was so great. Blah blah blah. Hey guys, real quick. I don't want to be rude, but I'm going to lose my train of thought, which is going to be super important to you. After we're done with that, I want to hear your story. We can do that, right? Cool. Let me get back on track. Okay. What it is I'm interrupting their pattern of taking me off pattern, and I'm putting them back on track. Pattern up, pattern repeat. This can also work in the close on these people where they start changing the subject and talking down something or going down a negative path. I think I'm going to get 3 other messages, blah, 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 blah. They have to just give you a commitment that you're 100% confident trusting us. And then basically you had everything they wanted and needed, right? So you know that what they're telling you is bullcrap. They just can't afford what you're saying, right? So there's another good time at that point. Say, hey guys, I understand that. Hold on one second. I know where you're going. Hold on one second. I don't think that's it. I think it's more about the money. Pattern up, pattern repeat, getting them back on the pattern you want them to acquire, and you're interrupting in quick, which means, if you interrupt them in mid-thought, they lose their train of thought. They're like, what was I talking about again? I think you were talking about something to do with your family that you were going to share with me at the end, right? Yeah, because that's a beautiful thing about how that brain power works, right? They are all about moving on the next thing. Shiny toy, shiny object, whatever's in front of their face reminds them of something and they want to share it. Not that they're being rude, but that's their love language on how they're sharing that they care and they're engaged in the conversation you're having, right? Is they want to share. When they're quiet, it almost is uncomfortable to them. So keeping these people engaged by asking a lot of questions through here as well, and you're keeping them engaged in the answers, and so you keep the process moving, right? The beautiful thing is basically, you think of those percentages, right? They say that, 70% of people retain things when they're engaged, right? 70% of people retain things when they're engaged means I'm asking questions and eliciting answers back out of them as I'm coming through. Be a master of asking questions with this customer, and then you'll control the conversation. Second, you go to telling, and they start telling you, you've lost control. Now you're there for 4 hours, and you've got nothing accomplished, right? So again, with the yellow, pattern up, pattern repeat, pattern up, pattern repeat keeps them on track, right? Now the white, that's what you said. Yeah, that's what you said. Well, guys, what prompt does come out here today? I don't think anything needs to even be done. We're just had somebody knock on our door. We saw somebody at a festival. They think it needs to be done. I don't think anything needs to be done. You'll see arms are crossed, body language is off. There's lots of things with these customers that you'll find out that they don't trust you, right? That peace and autonomy is about you're inside their peace and autonomy. So with these people, one of the best things you can do is you can back up and you can say at the front door, you're like, oh gosh, you guys, hey, just real quick, you may shut my shoes right now. I'm a salesperson until proven innocent. If there's anything today that I share with you that makes you uncomfortable, will you please share with me and we'll change the subject? Great, because the last thing I want to do is make you uncomfortable in your own home. I want to make sure, again, we share what's important to you. Does that make sense? We'll be in and out just as fast as we get the information completed. With that said, thank you guys so much for inviting me into your home, right? So we call that a disarming statement, right? So I'm a salesperson to improve it. Guys, if I do anything today to make you uncomfortable, please share with me and change the subject. Is that fair? It's like you're giving them control to tell you if you're making them uncomfortable. What it does, by giving them control, it increases that time frame. It makes you feel like you have their best interest in mind. When you have their best interest in mind, again, it's going to help you excel at that next level, right? So in ending, think about it, right? We got our red, we got our blue, we got our yellow, and we got our white, right? So we got those 4 personality traits that are helping us kind of excel ourselves to that next level. So with that said, this is a nice quick lesson on the color code. Hope you guys enjoy it. And again, we'll see you guys in the inspection.